Welcome back to Real Leverage, guys. Today, me and Colton are back. We're doing another duo episode. We haven't done one in literally 4 months, I think. Obviously we just posted a podcast last week with Krishan, which had great feedback and it was super positive and feels super good to be back doing the podcast again. And today we're going to be diving into, I guess, three of the biggest lessons both me and Colton individually have learned since kind of the start of 2026. So let's get right into it. Colton, number one on your list, you said playing the long game in life. That was the number one lesson, or number one in the order. Let's get into that.
Yeah, so I think for a little bit of context, you and I are investors in the capital markets. We're very business oriented and we're always thinking about what business we can start or what we can invest in. And I think for the last couple of months, we've been saying we've wanted to start a business. We've been wanting to do X, Y, Z, but we wanted it to happen overnight. And it's kind of been a reflection in the past couple, I want to say days here, not weeks, that we need to be playing the long game and building our skills just like we are as investors. Like from an investing standpoint in the capital markets, whenever we look at a company, we take weeks to do the research and understand the company and invest in them. And then we're waiting 5-10 years for the results. Like we're not selling them tomorrow. We have that long time horizon.
Right.
But from wanting to start a business standpoint and make more money, we want that to happen tomorrow, right? We want to be millionaires tomorrow, and that's just not how it works. It's exactly like investing. We got to build our skills up, do the research, and look 5-10 years down the way before we actually make any progress or get to where we want to be. And I think it's just been a change of mind because we say we're long-term thinkers, and we are. We think 1 to 5 years, but we need to be thinking 10 years and not rush the process and expect it to happen tomorrow. We can't be entitled. So that's, I think, would be number one for me.
That makes sense. And without giving away your number 2 point, because me and Colton are going to bounce back and forth and interview each other today, why do you feel like you've been able out the gate to invest with a 10-year time horizon, but not, think about business in more than like a day time frame? Why have you not connected that up to this point?
Yeah. I think honestly, it comes down to what you surround yourself with on social media and what you're watching, right? So, and what I mean by that is my TikTok feed, and I'm assuming yours too, and Instagram feed are of kids our age or a little bit older or younger than us, making $100,000-$200,000 a month. So they claim, driving nice cars, living, again, claiming they're living the life and have started successful businesses. But then even from the age of 13, all my influences in life for investors like Warren Buffett have constantly preached having a long time horizon and waiting 15, 20 years. And that has always been the mantra, right? And even with Jay, our current boss and mentor, always thinking in a long time horizon for investing. And that's just what's been preached to us. And I think it's, the understanding that's not going to come overnight, but then seeing these other kids online and how they've made their money in business. And, you and I are so ambitious. It's just like, it's a kick in the ass. It's like, why can't we be doing that tomorrow? So I think that's where it comes from. It's just what you're surrounded with on social media and then who you talk to, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. You think probably the biggest takeaway there was just like, I get it. Same thing. I think everybody who's like ambitious falls into that cycle of like looking at TGR's Koenigsegg and being like, yep, time to start like a trading empire or like whatever, right? There's so many people doing so many things more now than ever that you fall influenced. So do you think that was the biggest takeaway? Like maybe, focusing a little bit more on who you're actually like giving your like spare time to from like a mentorship standpoint?
Yeah, for sure. Who you're giving your energy to. Like even if you look at a prime example, I'd say is Alex Hermosi. His success didn't happen overnight. He technically runs a course, a workshop, and preaches business, but it took years and years, I think 7+ years for his business to become a $100 million company and then for him to sell it. So yeah, I think it's really important who you surround yourself with. I mean, we preach, you're some of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I feel even with what you're consuming content wise too, got to make sure it adds up. I mean, you can watch anything where AI is going to take over the world. You're going to have that stress and urgency that tomorrow is going to be doomsday or the end of the world. So I think it's just constantly surrounding yourself with the right people and the right mindset. So yeah, Tyler, I want to jump into yours, and your number one point was reflection changed everything. Can you break that down for us?
Yeah, definitely. I want to start by saying few of you know, I don't know who exactly listens to this podcast. First of all, if you listen to this podcast, someone's got to comment. Let us know who's listening. Comment what you like. Do you like these dual episodes with me and Colton? Do you like when we interview people? Is there certain, business types you want us to interview? This is such a side note, but like comment down below. We'll literally do anything. Like we'll start cold calling like the biggest entrepreneur on the planet to get him on the podcast. I don't care. Like who do you want to listen to and what do you guys like? Because we get views, we see the stats, people are watching the show. Let us know. And on that note, depending on who's listening to this, a few of you may know, every week I do a weekly recap. Every Saturday night, I sit on the computer and I do a weekly recap where I answer 5 questions. 2 weeks ago, I introduced a journal section to that. And I've been doing that this is actually going to be exactly 9 months this Saturday from when I started, which is kind of wild because I think a lot of people think about journaling, few do it. Traditionally, I think people think about journaling as like, you write down on pen and paper your thoughts, you slow down, maybe you have a cup of coffee. And for that reason, I didn't journal because I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to sit down and slowly write with my, chicken scratch handwriting. So back in the summer, July of 2025, I started doing a weekly recap just with Google Docs. And every single week I've documented, basically what went well that week and what needs to be improved on, some wins and stuff, and just kind of keep track of my life. And recently, about 3 weeks ago when me and Colton were in Toronto, I actually put all of those reflections, all 8.25 months worth at that point into ChatGPT. And I said, analyze my life over the last 8 months and like break down patterns, similarities, stuff like that. And just like kind of help me digest it because it's great to do it, but without like manually going through it, like that would be a nightmare. And thank you to ChatGPT for being a great therapist. Basically broke down some key themes, some things I've said 7 times word for word over the last 9 months without even realizing it. And I redid that with a couple updated entries from just the last 2 weeks. And like this weekend and on Monday, I did a lot of reflection. I probably spent 4 hours digesting all of that with everything I have going on. And this is all to say that like reflection on your life is so important, and it's been so beneficial to me to keep those journal entries. And I would encourage everybody to do it. Happy to send the template that I use to anybody listening if you want to. It is like amazing, not only just to like celebrate your wins from 7 months ago and how they panned out today, but like literally understand how your life has progressed and like what you should be doing. And like at the time of recording this today, I think I've never been more clear on like what to do for the next, like, let's say quarter, let's say to, mid-year, July 1st, like what I need to be doing until then. I've never had more clarity on like my low hanging fruit, areas to push on, areas to pull back from, energy, and just how to like give my time. And that all comes back to reflection.
Yep. I love that. I mean, I actually am going to start doing my low reflection this week after hearing all the success and just like therapy you've had with ChatGPT, because I think that's one thing I'm missing in my life is the therapy sessions with ChatGPT. But
it's so valuable.
You mentioned that it showed you where to push and where to pull. Did it also, when you're breaking down your journals every week and reflecting on your week, or you do it weekly, not daily, correct?
Weekly, yeah.
Yeah, weekly. So did it show you anywhere where you were struggling with, say, specific skills? I know it's more mindset, or like, did it also give you that kind of clarity too on where you need to improve as a human being or skill-wise?
I'm going to say no, and I'm going to say that's no specific to me, and here's why. The point of my weekly recap is kind of like to reflect almost like from a business standpoint, but my whole life is kind of like business and like just success. Like basically like people have different goals than me, I should say. And so for me, like my wins every week and my goals, and like every week I kind of reflect on like how my job went, how my social media went, how my, business ventures went, how my fitness went, how my skill development, whether it's like, education online or books or something. It's all basically like, I'm just a person obsessed with, like personal development to lead to success in business and life. and entrepreneurship. And so it's very like centric around that. That being said, a lot of like where I'm at right now isn't just like reading books anymore. I did that for years. And like if anyone recalls back to the early real leverage days, 7 months ago, it was a lot about action. And that has stayed true for the last 7 months since we started the podcast. I have not been reading nearly as many books in the last 7 months as I have in the last 7 years. And that's not to say you shouldn't read, because the most successful people on the planet, read a book a day probably. But just for me personally, I've been putting a lot of my energy into other things. And so like my personal reflections in regards to that have not been so much like, oh, I need to work a little bit more on sales skills. Ironically, a lot of my reflections have included all the sales wins I've had since started working for Cambridge House and doing sales there. Not a lot of reflection has come down to the skill set. More so, a lot of it comes down to, just to share a little insight, like fitness. I'm in decent shape. I work out a little bit. It's always a struggle to like get that consistency, because I choose to give my energy to other areas. And like most specifically, the big two takeaways were like, when I'm really dialed on my fitness, everything else seems to go well, which is like, how would you ever put that together without documenting this? And like ChatGPT analyzed all my recaps and put that together for me in many different instances over the past 9 months, which like I never would have put that together, how important it is. It's just like coincidentally, the week where I say fitness was great, I hit the gym 4 times, went for 2 runs and played basketball, was also the week where I like smashed, 6 figures in sales and did all my personal content and had like inbound deals come and stuff. Like it's just, when it's 7 times over 9 months, it's not a coincidence. So that was one of the big takeaways I'll share. And that's the benefit.
Interesting. One thing before we move on to the next,
Yeah.
you mentioned business, your job, fitness, and skill development and journaling. You have 9 months. Which area are you the most proud of?
Yeah, that's funny. I haven't had a proud therapy talk with ChatGPT yet. It's always like, what's next? How do we get better? Uh,
Hmm.
if I had to say, Jesus, dude, I don't know, not fitness, maybe the benefit of social media and like doing social media, because that was such like a big point of like, I've known for years I should be on social media, and I'd be in a lot better of a podcast setup right now if I started 4 years ago when I thought about it.
Yeah.
So I'd say I'm most proud of like, I don't know if sticking with social media is the right call, because I took a 3 month break from the podcast and social media. But here we are. We're back with podcast number 2. I've got my 3rd video in a row going out tonight. I'm not going to be the guy that's like, oh, I'm back full time and then fall off the face of the planet. It is what it is. I think I'm back, and that's the plan. And I would say I'm proud of like starting social media and seeing that develop, because that's a big point too, right? 9 months of reflection. I've got 9 months of weekly updates on like, I hit my first 300 followers today, and my first video had 600 views, but I also have 3 months after that hitting 5,000 followers and 100,000 views on one video, and like continuing to scale that and the other opportunities that have come from that. I would say that's probably what I'm most proud of and what's given me the most benefit up to this point for sure, which we'll get into later.
100%. And I know you said you didn't want to say we're back, but we're back, baby. I forget where that meme's from, or I think it's from the Hanover or whatever. We're back. But yeah, I think from everything we've talked about with social media and the podcast, that's not going away anytime soon.
100%, man. Okay, let's get into your number 2. Number 2, you said added unneeded pressure is something that you've reflected on. So let's get into that. What sort of pressure are we talking about?
Yeah, I think it's just pressure to succeed in everything. During our little reflection and therapy talk with each other and ChatGPT, and just where we want the next year to go, and kind of breaking down the goal and vision. One reoccurring theme that always came back is I always added more pressure than I needed to every single situation in my life. And I still do that, and I'm still working on that. Even this morning, adding pressure to get another sale, have my breakfast at 9:30, and ensure everything is dialed and closed out by 11:30 today. Like, that pressure isn't, I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why it's needed, but it's just something I've done subconsciously. Or adding the pressure that I need to be making $50,000 next month, right? There's no need to have that added pressure and stress where I can't sleep at night, but I still, whatever I do, whether it's business, fitness, I guess eating too, just anything in my life, there's always subconsciously a pressure I add that gives me that anxiety every day I wake up And I don't know if it's so I do it or it's a fear of not doing it, but
Mm.
learning that I don't need to add pressure to everything and it's going to be all right. Specifically for our sales job that I'm now doing with business development rep. Not I'm 2 weeks in. Don't add the pressure. It's going to come. The sales are going to come. They have
Yeah.
come, but they'll come in more volume later on, and it doesn't have to happen now. I think that's also a reason I failed at my sales job in January, is because I put so much pressure on myself. I could barely hold a conversation on the phone because I needed to succeed and make the
Mm.
sale there, where I couldn't even be myself and use my skills and knowledge that I had. So just stepping back, knowing it's going to be okay, kind of goes in with point number one, having that long-term vision. Like you can have pressure, but don't think it's going to happen tomorrow. Have that long-term vision and just let things play out. Is kind of step number two.
Yeah, 100%, man. I've seen you add that pressure on yourself. And I think a lot of people do. Not everybody does, but I've definitely seen it firsthand. You do put a lot of unnecessary pressure on yourself, which doesn't, you're not the type of person that needs to like force pressure on yourself to get out of bed in the morning, right? You wake up with cold sweats at night, you're covered there. Um, so I'm kind of curious, how are you able to come to that realization? Maybe like why couldn't you before and why did you now? Like what sort of like led to this realization? Because this pressure thing with you has been around as long as I've known you. I remember seeing the pressure you put on yourself building apartments 2.5 years ago. So like how did you just kind of come to realize that and see that this is what you've been doing? And then I guess looking forward, how are you like reconciling that moving forward so you don't continue to do it?
Yeah, great question, man. This is a great podcast episode. Um,
Practice.
Practice, yeah. How I realized the pressure was when we were kind of doing a reflection the last week, which
Hmm.
has kind of been the theme of why we're doing this podcast. And again, zooming out and seeing why every business venture we've done together has failed,
Sure.
why I technically got fired from my sales job. It was mutual, but I was going to be fired for not performing.
Hmm.
Um, why when I would mess up, no, I don't do this anymore, but even a year and a half ago, I would be so hard on myself and just kind of like really breaking down what the key theme of the failure and success was. Sometimes I would have great success, but what was the key indicator of me having that success too? And it was adding this unnecessary pressure, this weight on my shoulders where I can't take it anymore. But that also made me realize with our failed ventures, with failing the sales, is I burn out incredibly fast. Like incredibly fast where I can't even, play the long game.
Yeah.
And how am I handling that now? Well, that's the best question out there. I am handling it by acknowledging every morning that I add pressure to myself and just being conscious of that, right? I even said this morning, I noticed halfway through my morning of doing my rounds with my sales job, I was adding the pressure already. And I needed to
Yeah.
close this guy right here and there. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, just remembering to take a step back and kind of making it a mantra, keep it top of mind always.
Mm. That makes sense. And adding a weekly recap every week. So in 9 months from now, you can say, chat, I'm still putting pressure on myself. How do I fix this? And it's going to say, well, every time you didn't put pressure on yourself, you did X, Y, and Z. And then you do that moving forward. So you just got to wait 9 months and do a lot of journaling, I guess.
Long-term vision, man, right? It's
There
zooming
we go.
out. Exactly that. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see now when I'm doing the journaling, even more because I mean, I can only think of all the failures I've had by adding pressure, but I'm sure there were some successes along the way too, but we won't know.
Maybe that's why you kick your ass out of bed every single day and work harder than anybody I know, man.
Yeah, maybe. But let's get to your number two, Tyler, because I really like your number two, and it's focus over effort.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting one. I mean, kind of you're probably going to see little nuggets of all three of ours individually across me and Colton. You know, if you've ever seen us ever anywhere ever, you probably think we're twins and we're the same person recording a podcast, just talking at the same time, just at opposite moments. We're not, we're different people, but we do share a lot of similarities. So you're going to see little nuggets, and like part of number two for me can like relate to any of these other ones. And specifically what you just said about like why things failed for you. Kind of same thing for me, focus over effort. Being really focused at, I mean, in particular, if you think about the most successful people in the world, they're like the best and the most focused at one thing. And I like a lot of things. And I've, again, benefit to reflecting over the last 9 months and just being conscious of kind of who I am as a person over the last handful of years. I've recognized that I love a lot of different things. I love investing and working in the capital markets. I love my sales job. I love posting content. And all of those can be like different things with different people in different spaces. So it's hard to like really pick one thing to get really dialed at. And maybe that just comes with time when you really find your passion. But I've realized that like, you know, yeah, me and Colton work like 70 hours a week, probably like maybe even more, not to brag, just it's just a fact. We work all the time. We work every weekend night. And that hasn't changed. And again, this is a cool part of documenting reflection with the podcast. We said the same shit back in the summer of 25, and we're saying the same thing today. Nothing's changed. We've actually started working harder. But it's like, what are you doing with that hard work, right? Sit here and say how I work 70 hours a week. And like, you know, people ask me how things are going and how much money I'm making and stuff. And it's not like about that, because if I was a lot more focused on a couple key areas, the answer would be a lot better than it is. You know, we've spent 70-hour weeks building ideas. And like, I think a lot of people come up with an idea about how they're going to create a fencing company, you know, when they're having beers on the porch, and then like they come up with a name and the next day they don't talk about it. Me and Colton do that, except for we spend 2 weeks and 80 hours a week building out like infrastructure, names, like ideas, sites, backends. Like we do a lot of shit and then we get over it. And like Colton's helped me realize through like looking at some big figures in business, being like similar to them, how they manage that, which has helped. But you do that and then you quit it because you get bored, because we're sprinters, as Colton says. And it's like, what's the point? It doesn't matter if we work 70 hours a week, use all of our spare time to like grind side hustles that we quit because we get bored. It doesn't matter. So like the effort standpoint is pointless, but when you're focused, like that's where it gets really cool. And benefit to the reflection, it's helped me kind of realize what I need to focus on. And like that ties directly into back in the podcast, and focusing on my personal content, I guess, is kind of like the two key things that I realized I should just focus on.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, I think, can't wait to see 6 months to a year from now. And hopefully we do another like follow-up quote unquote update being like, hey, hopefully everyone saw we did this massive reflection. We got refocused and oh my God, our personal brands are starting again. Our real leverage is starting again. That's not a coincidence. You kind of took my question on like what you were going to focus on and reflected into focus. But maybe you can give a little advice to someone who's scatterbrained and has a bunch of ideas and a bunch of directions they want to go and kind of is overwhelmed with what to do and how to hone in and focus on, let's say, 2-3 buckets.
It's a good question. I think it can be situational too, right? Like where are you and what are you doing? Because for me, like I'm always looking to improve my life and business and just take that next step with very, very big goals. And like, I'm so focused on taking each stepping stone. But with that context in mind, like if I lived personally, never satisfied, but like what I'm doing with my life right now is fantastic. And I think like 99.99% of the people in the world would be happy with it. It's fantastic. And so like with that in mind, I would tell me to do weekly recaps for 9 months and figure out exactly what the trend is with my life over time. And the benefit to that is what I'm feeling this week is what I'm feeling today. This is a week's a bad example because I'm off the back of 9 months of reflection, right? But on any given week, your feelings and your like ambitions and desires are going to be different than the next. But the benefit to doing it over 9 months is you get some pretty clear themes and ideas for your life. And like, you can kind of work with 9 months of reflection. You can't trust 1 week's worth of emotions. And so I would probably tell someone to start documenting their life. But again, like I said, it's situational. If you hate where you're at and you're not living like a decent enough life where you feel comfortable to work with 9 months of reflections, like you need change. And I get that firsthand because I was literally there. I quit my job with no job to go to this summer. I get it. And I would say you can kind of do the same thing without the reflection. Like, how are you feeling today? Is that how you felt 6 months ago, a year ago? If that's the case, whatever those couple of things are, like go head first into that. And some good advice we got from our colleague Jordan was like nothing's permanent. And especially from, it was social media related, but it can be anything related. Like try those 2 to 3 things that you liked today, but you also liked a year ago for 90 days. And that's it. And at the end of 90 days, sit down, granted with 90 days worth of weekly reflections, and digest how it went, how you felt through the progress, and if that's what you want to do moving forward. And if it's not, then you pivot, but at least you tried something for 90 days. I think that's the best advice you can do. Find that thing you like, you think you want to do it for a while, try it for 90 days, and then reflect on those 90 days. And worst case, however shitty your situation is, probably you can buck up for another 3 months.
Well said, Tyler.
Cool. Let's get into yours. Funny, I talk about your number 3 is consistency is key, and I'm laughing because I'm just talking about do something consistently for 3 months. So let's get into that. What do you figure about that?
Yeah, you lined it up perfectly. I mean, again, in our reflections and just talking to each other. And again, it's the overall picture, kind of for context. Tyler and I were talking about where we should go in the next year with everything. Obviously, we have our jobs, but just kind of what do we want to pursue and focus on, right? Like Tyler said. And during this reflection, we realized where we wanted to focus on, but it also was where I was lacking, and it was consistency in some of the areas. I think the best example could be is the personal brand. I was posting not as consistently as Tyler, and then stopped because I didn't know what to post about, what I wanted my messaging to be, and I was confused. Instead of like our colleague Jordan said, just like things that interest you, do it for 90 days. And I was constantly switching what I was doing. I wanted to talk about finance and mining and geopolitics and business and sales, psychology, and it just kept switching, and it was all over, even some day in the lives. And there was no consistency there, so I couldn't gain any traction and understanding of, is this what I want to do? Do I like doing this? Is this what people want to watch me do? And so I quit. And I think looking back at other things in my life too, when I failed, it was also pressure, but not being consistent. I mean, best thing is going to the gym, right? Look at our buddy Jordan. He's been consistent for 2 years and he's absolutely jacked. And
Yeah.
it was just being consistent. And the other side of the best example being the social media is Tyler, on the other hand, was consistent, posting at the start 2 days a week. Sorry, 2 days. Yeah, 2 days. 2
2 videos a
times
day.
every single day. And then one day, but now he has brand deals. He has a following. He's able to monetize that. And that was from the consistency and not stopping. Kind of showed me, right? Like, doesn't mean I'd be where Tyler was with some brand deals, but would definitely be a lot further on in my content journey if I just didn't stop and kept being consistent with posting, which is now going to take place. Also happens with other areas in life. Like, I felt the worst in January. I didn't have a consistent diet. I was barely eating. So the last 2 weeks, I felt the best I ever have physically because I'm consistently eating the same healthy foods. And now I can perform better at work, my side hustles and everything. So I think it was just recognizing it, and we say it, everyone says it, but you need to be consistent in everything you do, especially who you say you are. And I think we're just kind of starting to gather and get that back again.
Yeah, 100% agree, man. You kind of took my question as to like what you're going to be doing moving forward, but I guess I can just tee it up for you. Are you planning on making a return to content then? Is that kind of like the key focus for you moving forward? Obviously, you said consistency is key. That kind of plays true everywhere. We need to be consistent with the podcast. You're consistent with your diet. Is the content making a return?
Yeah, you already know. Of course it is. Yeah, it's going to make a return. But yeah, it's also, I guess like this podcast is going to hold us accountable too, saying we're going to be consistent with 2 podcasts a week and posting every day on our personal brands.
Make sure you guys flame us if we don't do it.
Yeah, really be hateful and mean and tell us to get lost. But
Yeah.
and even with the journals too, consistently doing that is going to give me so much more valuable insight to my life when we're in Europe in summer, even from now, 4 months from now. That's going to be super valuable. So it's just keeping those, let's say, 4 buckets of media, fitness, work, and reflection, and being consistent in those week in and week out So then I can reflect, like you said, and see like, is this what I
Yeah,
want? How am I progressing?
for sure.
But that's, yeah. And then so Tyler, I think this also tees it up for everything we've been talking about in this episode with real leverage, personal brands.
Yeah, yeah.
Your number three is being visible is king. So
Yeah.
take it away.
First of all, I was just laughing. I'm like, your number three could have been my number three. I didn't really put it together, but like all the benefits that I've talked about have just been tied into consistency, like the weekly recap. Being consistent with that has paid dividends, consistent with social media, more so than you for whatever that means for me. It has been productive and everything else. So that easily could have been one of mine. And maybe next time it will be. My number three, being visible is king. I wrote down first 90% of all opportunities for me have come from being visible. And like, what do I mean by that? Primarily, it's, social media and the podcast helps. So to break it down, if you're not aware, I started writing a newsletter for 10 weeks back in the summer. On my 10th week, my now boss reached out and approached me about a job. That came from being visible. And that was huge for me, not having a job, trying to get into this industry. And that literally just came down to me building in public, talking about who I am and what I'm doing in public and kind of positioning myself that way. Beyond that, not just the new job from a network standpoint, right? Me and Colton have met a bunch of phenomenal young entrepreneurs from doing the podcast, people we still talk to nearly every single day and have given us years worth of business advice and knowledge, and just great to have like a really good round table of people that way. Beyond that, from a social media standpoint, for me specifically, getting brand deals, right? Companies approach me and pay me money to talk about them on my page, something I'm already doing for free. And that came down to just being consistent for a while, seeing a little bit of success. Like I'm literally the smallest fish in that whole finance bucket. And still people approach me to give their money to me and make videos on them. And then going one further, which I'm not going to get into too much, but like UGC content opportunities. That could pay well as well. And it's technically separate from brand deals, but it's the same thing. Being visible on social media has had people approach me about opportunities in all areas, as a whole. That kind of explains that. And I think the key benefit of being visible, beyond me obviously outlining what happened for me, and it's a key difference is when you have social media, podcast, newsletter, Twitter, I don't care what it is. You could only do LinkedIn, whatever it is. The key benefit of building in public and being visible is the opportunities come to you versus you having to get them. Think about, how do you get a job traditionally? You apply, you send emails, maybe you network, and I did all that forever as well. Or you want to sell something. You have a business and you need to sell your product or your service. What do? You email everybody and you cold call them and you message them and you go out to the world with whatever that offer is. The difference with being visible and building a personal brand is all of those opportunities come to you. I got my job. I built a network. And I'm getting paid for doing Instagram videos. People come to me, they DM me, they email me. All of it has been inbound. And all I have to do is sit in my room where nobody looks at me and post videos talking about stocks or finance, or you could be talking about, your favorite hoodies that you buy or the Raptor up there. You can talk about anything you want, but the difference is people come to you. And I think that's like the key takeaway that I've found, I've been able to rationalize, I guess, from doing social media, is it all comes to you. I just sit here, do my thing every day. And once a week, somebody shoots me a message or an email, and whether that turns into like a good network and a good connection or money, it came to me and I didn't necessarily have to go to it. And one step further, if you decide to go back out into that community, you now have status, not like it really matters, it's following. People will be more receptive to hear from you and do business with you. Simply from a stupid little Instagram follower account, more people will respond to you, more people want to get on a call with you. So it kind of goes both ways, but the key benefit is it all comes to you.
That's one hell of a statement. And it's hard to ask you a question when you just laid it all out like that. But I guess the question could be for someone, and this kind of ties back to other Real Leverage podcast episodes too. So if it's a new follower, this works. If it's an old, then they'll be like, oh my God, I've heard this. But you got to beat it into people's head is
True.
If you were in an industry that you love or you're trying to get into a new one, how would you start being visible?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what's a good example. I don't need an example. What I would do is just, let's say you're in that industry and it goes whether you're in it or you want to get into it. It's the same thing. Let's say you're in it. I mean, my example, right? Like, let's say I'm in the mining industry right now. And if I wanted to be like a super big thought leader in mining, I would post videos and you could be everywhere, right? You could tweet, post LinkedIn, post Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube shorts, just be on all the platforms and every medium, have a newsletter, and you just talk about like that industry and what you know about it. And you just position yourself as a thought leader. And like that can compound quickly. It can compound in a really meaningful way over time. But at the end of the day, if you show up and you talk about the things that all the smartest and most well-known people in any space talk about, eventually you're going to end up in front of them. And if you do it enough and you get good enough at it through repetition, which is inevitable, right? The more you work at something, the better you get at it. Then you become in front of those people and you position yourself as a smart person and a thought leader. And they'll start to recognize you. They'll start to interact with you and people start to come to you with ideas. And I've seen that firsthand in this industry. And I think it applies everywhere. I don't care what industry you are. There's no reason that can't work for you in any way.
I love that. And I'm going to go off script here too, but I feel like there's a fourth lesson we've learned that should be the number one, could be number one or number four for both of us, but that is passion, right? You got to be passionate about what you're doing too.
Yeah.
Um, I I was gonna ask you
Yeah.
like, where do you think the passion comes from? Because you can not be passionate about, let's just say, posting content, but if it's gonna pay your bills, then
Mm.
you would become passionate about it because you're seeing some success and monetary gain that's making you live um, a better life. But it's just another thing we've done with our reflection and the last 2 weeks again is cutting out everything we're not passionate about and only focusing on the endeavors that
Yeah.
drive us and give us passion. And, even the days we don't want to wake up, we want to do it. But it's like, I guess I could go a little bit, I'm going off script here, but like for passion, where does your passion in media and content come from, do you think?
To be honest, I've got no idea where it came from. And I think that's like, interesting in itself, right? I started it. Um, Let me just say, like we talked about, me and Colton have reflected a lot and we kind of come down to like, let's only do things we're passionate about. And if you grind them long enough, they'll pay you dividends. And it's true. All the most successful people say, do what you love. You never work a day in your life. So why do something that you hate, even if it could pay you well? Because it never will, because you're not going to enjoy it. And maybe I got lucky and found a little bit of success with content and like stuck it through and now it's paying me. Or maybe I started doing it and I just realized I enjoyed it. And I think that's really what happened. And the benefit of that is it did start to pay me. And if that wasn't true, I wouldn't have posted, I don't know. I posted 70, I know the number. I posted 72 videos before I had one hit over 500 views. And I don't think anyone would post 72 videos if they didn't like it, right? Everyone would have quit after like four. Before my first brand deal, I probably posted like 120 videos, 130 if I had to guess, right? So I think like accidentally I found something I'm passionate about, and the podcast in particular we love doing, and we're so passionate about it. It's so fun, so it's so easy to do repeatedly. But ironically, I started doing the content for personal gain to get into a new industry and like position myself as a thought leader. Like I almost did it for like the wrong reasons, like selfishly to make more money and get opportunity. That's why I did it, which is fine. And the benefit is it turns out I actually liked it and I'm decent at it. So I guess I kind of found that passion. And if I didn't, I probably wouldn't, be sitting here doing this right now.
Well said. I had to go off script there because it's like that is the fourth one, right? Is
Yeah.
only pursue things you are passionate about. I think it's something not everyone says. I mean, even look at Jay. He is so passionate about the mining industry
Oh
and
man. Yeah.
media. Like you can never kick that guy down because he loves this shit.
100%. Right. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's something we like analyze from him as well, hearing more about his story. So yeah, you realize
Mhm.
the people, who are successful, they're passionate about what they do.
Yeah, look at Elon Musk. He loves them spaceships. He loves space.
He
That's a
does,
passion,
man. He does. He loves it.
right?
Cool. I think it's good you went with the passion there. That is like the overarching thing we realized. But yeah, anything else you want to add?
No, we're going to be consistent. We're going to be visible, be seen, be read, be heard,
That's
and
right.
we'll keep our journals up. And we should do this. Like, I think we do this next episode in Europe. Like, part two of this needs to be in Europe
I mean, yeah, it might work out, man. In Monaco.
or on
Okay,
the
sounds
plane.
good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, well, let's wrap it up. Thanks for listening, guys. Appreciate it. Till next time.